Okay, many people are wondering why I'm making this video. My name is George Benavides. I am from Texas. I am a veteran, a disabled veteran, and a proud father of children. And the reason why I'm making this video is to help educate society on this 60-year war we call Havana Syndrome. Havana Syndrome is deja vu all over again. From the Moscow Signal, Ronald Reagan's Star Wars, okay? Then we had President Bill Clinton's human radiation experimentation. And then from Bill Clinton, we had Congressman Kucinich, Dennis Kucinich, HR 2977 Space Preservation Act. From that point on, we had President Barack Obama, who came in there and tried to establish the Bioethics Commission, who took testimony over 300 Americans who were being assaulted with this weapon. But I'm not here today to discuss the weapon. I'm here to discuss the term we call E.S.P. E.S.P. stands for extrasensory perception, okay? Extrasensory perception, meaning that I am broadcasting my thoughts to society and to the enemy and to foreign enemies and to the government, okay? So in 1993, when I enlisted in the military, the government, the federal government, used me as a Manchurian candidate, meaning that they, without my consent, they breached their contract and used me as a Manchurian candidate without informing me that they were going to spy on me with microchipping devices, with devices to intercept my thoughts and identify my location, okay? During the time I was in the military, this happened during a dental procedure. They sat me in a chair and they injected this chip inside of me that broadcast my thoughts. And so I've been broadcasting my thoughts and ideas while serving in the armed forces, okay? Not only that, they didn't have a federal court order or a warrant to spy on me by tagging me with a spying device, tracking my mind with a spying device, satellite weapons, drones, and electronic warfare, okay? Exposing my life to society, exposing my life to the enemy, exposing my life to the government. They even trapped my life, falsely imprisoned my life while serving in the armed forces, okay? The problem that I'm having here is that when I was honorably discharged in 1998, the government should have seized and stopped all their spying, okay? And did not stop the spying, okay? They're still reading my mind, still stealing my thoughts and my ideas during the time of serving in the armed forces, okay? They didn't have my consent. This is non-consensual experimentation that's been done by the government for many years now. And the government's been punished several times by lawsuits, especially the CIA, FBI, Secret Service, DOD. They've all been punished with lawsuits, but they still neglect to follow law and to follow common law. And so here we are. So many people, many people may ask, well, why are you making this information? Why are you making this statement? Well, I'm making this statement because I'm being viciously targeted. I've been spied on and targeted for a long time now, you know. And when that happens, then you know, and I'm being put in imminent fear, I have no choice but to expose my testimony, but to tell my testimony, because then I may be killed, okay? I may be killed tomorrow or the next day. Targets live a fearful life. Targets are put in imminent fear, you know, because they're being tortured 24/7. They're being surveilled 24/7 without due process of a law, without a federal court order. So we're put in imminent fear and in fear of our life that when we go to bed tomorrow, we may die. Well, I'm in court right now, and so this is my testimony. And my testimony is about this. It's about E.S.P. It's about the illegal spying conducted by the government, okay? And many people will ask, well, why? Well, yeah, because they had no consent. They didn't have a federal court order. They didn't have a warrant to spy on me, okay? They took it upon themselves without a federal court order, without oath of affirmation to spy on me, to track my thoughts, broadcast my thoughts to society, to the enemy, to the government while serving in the armed forces and still for the rest of my life. Okay. So when I fear for my life and I'm put in imminent fear, then it's my job to record and document it because the war is still going on. The treason is still going on against America and against me. And I may not have an opportunity to speak in court. Do you understand me so far? This is why I want to make my statement clear. Why are you exposing this now? Why not court? Because I may not get the chance. A lot of people don't get the chance to go to court to testify against the government on what they're doing to American people. They're operating these devices out of the fusion centers, out of our neighborhoods. They put in people in our lives. Like next door, I'll give you an example. There's a man here. I live in a low section housing, okay? This is not a fabulous place, okay? My rent's less than $1,000, okay? This housing there's been here for several years. You got a well-decorated armed forces member that just moved in over there with his family. I mean, come on, guy. You're well-decorated. You got a family. Why are you coming over here from Illinois to harass me? The same thing with over here at this B&B over here. You got a guy over here that's brought in here to attack me 7 days a week working for the government. And they want to kill me. They want to tamper with federal evidence. They want to retaliate against me. This is all espionage, treason, and sabotage, okay, to cover up their 30-year act of espionage that they've done to me. Let's get back to the ESP. ESP stands for extrasensory perception, meaning that whatever I'm thinking, I'm broadcasting to society and to the government. And it can be anything. It can be an object. It can be a person, place, or thing, right? So if I think of a person, then they're using the AI and a satellite to intercept my thoughts, to record that thoughts, to make a picture of that thought and reprint that through social media, through television, okay? The AI is invading my privacy, and it has been invading my privacy for 30 years now, okay? They're just publicizing my ideas and my information to society, to the government, to the enemy, okay? They're invalidating of my Fourth Amendment rights, right? And we want to talk about the Fourth Amendment. What is your Fourth Amendment rights? And I'm using an Apple iPad, one of my Apple iPads here. Let's kind of go in here. My Apple iPad, I'm using this. But, people say, well, I see you talk on YouTube. I see you talk on social media, but you don't express your pain. And I don't have to express my pain. The fact is that I'm being targeted and tortured. And I don't want to express my pain. You know why? Because the AI is putting the noose, and I'm talking about a rope noose on the American people. Meaning that if you talk about your symptoms on social media, the AI is intercepting that and using it against you. So why would I expose my hurt and my pain to social media if it's going to put a noose on me and attack me severely every single year that I'm expressing my pain and concern? Don't do that. They want you to do that. They want to take that data and build a avatar of you so they can slowly kill you. Don't do that. And I warn you, do not express your pain and discomfort, your medical symptoms on Facebook or social media, because the AI wants that. They want to intercept that and use that against you to destroy you slowly but surely. You're putting a noose on yourself by broadcasting that on the data. And if you don't believe me, I have several documentation to prove that AI will kill you. Okay. Now I want to talk about the Fourth Amendment. What does the Fourth Amendment say? Okay. The Fourth Amendment promises, right, the right from us to be trespass against the government. Okay. That we are protected by the Fourth Amendment. And in order for the government to spy on us, to track us, they have to have oath or affirmation. Okay. It clearly says that in the Constitution. Okay. It says here, and I'm going to read it verbatimly. I'm using, okay. It says, it's the right of the people to be secure in their persons, houses, papers, and effects against unreasonable searches and seizures shall not be violated, and no warrant shall issue but upon probable cause, supported by oath or affirmation, and particularly describing the place to be secured and the persons or things to be seized. Okay, so let's go back to my military career. If the government had probable cause to spy on me, Do you think that they would have let me in the military if they knew I was going to commit a crime? Okay. The second thing, it's the right of the people to be secure in their persons, houses, and papers of effects a reasonable search and seizures shall not be violated. And no warrant shall be issued but upon probable cause supported by oath of affidavit, particularly describing the place to be searched. Now, the only way the government could have spied on me is this. If you had consent from the federal court, a warrant or probable cause to spy on me, the judge signed off on the warrant, and now you're spying on me. But the warrant itself, the order itself, the warrant or the federal court order has to describe, like it says here, has to describe the particular place to be spied on. Okay? It says it has to describe describing the place to be searched. That means that warrant has got to say, I am searching Mr. George Andrew Benavides' mind for the rest of his life, so help me God. The judge had to sign off of that. Okay? They're in violation of that. They don't have the warrant to spy on me for the rest of my life. That's unbelievable. Okay? What kind of a warrant is going to describe that they're going to be searching someone's life from the rest of their life while in the armed forces to this current date and time? What warrant is that? So they're clearly in violation of my Fourth Amendment rights. Okay? Because they're searching my brain, they're stealing my thoughts, intercepting my thoughts, using an AI to record that, to record my information in violation of my Fourth Amendment rights. Are we here so far? Okay? They have to particularly describe that, what they're searching, my ideas, my mind, my thoughts, and they're clearly in violation of that by spying on me without my consent, without oath or affirmation for 30 years. Okay? Let's go back to the AI and E.S.P. Okay? So they're intercepting my thoughts and making me recollect what I'm thinking by putting that object, person, place, or thing in my life again to make me recollect. Okay? That's intrusive. That's invasive. That's in violation of my Fourth Amendment rights. Okay? Because they're trying to recollect what I'm doing in the past. And that's a part of what? That's part of fruit from the poisonous tree, right? It's an illegal way of collecting evidence, right? They're already in violation of my constitutional rights. There's no warrant. But now you want to use private sector, Google, AI, artificial intelligence to hunt me down and track and take total on my mind. Okay? Let's look at let's look at the theory from the Supreme Court theory. It's called fruit from the poisonous tree. Okay? Fruit from the poisonous tree. The government doesn't have a warrant to spy on me. They never did, never have. They didn't have a warrant to spy on me in the first place. Okay? No judge has signed off. What judge is going to sign off on a warrant to spy on me when the beginning of my military career, to spy on me and tracking me and torture me for the rest of my life? What judge is going to prove that? Okay? So, the fruit from the poisonous tree clearly says, it's a doctrine underlining the name was first described in Silverthorne Lumber Company versus United States, a U.S. Supreme Court case. Okay? It says such evidence is not generally admissible in court. Such evidence is not generally admissible in court. Okay? For an example, it's to suppose a police officer obtained a key to a train station locker in the process of conducting a search of a home that was unconstitutional on the grounds of that violation of the Fourth Amendment. Okay? He goes and searches a home unethically, illegally, and finds evidence. Okay? Now, through all this process of collecting data for 30 years to use against me unconstitutionally, without oath or affirmation, is clearly in violation of my civil rights and liberties. Okay? Are we here so far? They've been spying on me, tracking me, and torturing me while serving the armed forces until this day. And right now they're holding a kangaroo court, some kind of theatrical court down at the Congress floor and the state Senate floor, watching me with satellites and drones, trying to manipulate my mind with torture. And I'm put through this interrogation process, okay, by recollecting thoughts and putting stuff in my mind, okay, and torturing me, okay. But the problem I'm having here, guys, is that the government has given me some kind of immunity for spying on me. They're using me as a candidate, as a mentoring candidate to infiltrate other people, spying on other people. And they're creating the fusion centers because of what they've done to me as a scapegoat. Because they're trying to microchip and track down more Americans. They're trying to make everyone look like me because they're having fun stealing my thoughts. And they enjoy that because when I go to sleep, my mind is not turned off. It's processing folders, right? It's processing folders. It's creating ideas. It's creating patents. They're stealing my thoughts and my ideas to make a profit off it. That's why they enjoy this so much, okay? Because they're clearly in violation of my Fourth Amendment rights. They like my ideas. They're stealing my thoughts, okay? And so they're giving me immunity. I don't even know if it's diplomatic, sovereign, or qualified. I would like to find out and use that in this court case that I'm in process with right now, okay? Because they destroyed my life and my family's life. They sure have. Illegally using my family against me. Using them in which they never qualified for, because you don't sign a contract with someone, family, to spy on someone. You sign a contract with the person that you're going to spy on. You get their consent to spy on for the rest of their lives, not a family member, okay? They're clearly in violation of that. But you put them in jeopardy and you make them commit something they don't want to be committed to, okay? It's coercion, okay? But that's not the problem I'm having here, okay? So far, we know that microchipping and spying on Americans has trying to be allowed since Senator Joe Biden was in office. And here's a piece of evidence right here. Okay? The government's been collecting data on me for a long time. Okay? And they've been experimenting on me for a long time. But the problem I'm hearing is that you've had several federal officials who've known about the experimentation. Okay? Here's Joe Biden.
And it must not stop now, Judge.
Joe Biden.
Our constitutional journey did not stop then, and it must not stop now, Judge. And we'll be faced with equally consequential decisions in the 21st century. Can a microscopic tag be implanted in a person's body to track his every movement? There's actual discussion about that. You will rule on that, mark my words, before your tenure is over. Can brain scans be used to determine whether a person is inclined toward criminality or violent behavior? You will rule on that. And Judge, I need to know whether you will be a justice who believes that the constitutional journey must continue to speak to these consequential decisions, or that we've gone far enough in protecting against government intrusion into our autonomy, into those personal decisions we make. Judge, that's why this is a critical moment. There are elected officials in this government, such as Mr. DeLay, a fine, honorable, patriotic man, and others, who have been unsuccessful in implementing their agenda in the elected branches. So they now pour their energies, as the left would if it were different, and now pour their energies and resources into trying to change the court's view of the Constitution. And now they have a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity.
Okay, there you have it. So that was Senator Joe Biden, now President Biden, okay? Now President Biden. But that's not only that. Joe Biden has been watching this unfold for a long time, and he enjoys that because they're making a profit off of my thoughts. They're stealing my thoughts and creating patents and ideas off a profit. My soul's been sold to the devil, okay? They rip me off, and all they can justify for is he's delusional schizophrenic. Let's compensate him. While they destroyed my DNA, destroyed my life, destroyed my family's life, and all you can give me is call me schizophrenic delusional for your crimes that you committed of espionage. But not only that, there's institutions that are involved in spying on me too. Here we go. And these institutions have joined the federal government to watch me for a long time, okay? And I hold them accountable too. But like I said, we need to get them involved in the court case because they've been watching me for a long time, and they know they've been watching me. And I blame Joe Biden, President Biden, for the corruption that's been going on because they're trying to solicit the microchip and implant to track and hunt down Americans. This is what the outcome we get. This is the excuse we get for the illegal spying done to Americans. Right here. Here's the facts.
Biggest violations of medical ethics ever perpetrated on U.S. citizens. This week, medical experts and others are meeting to make sure something like this never happens again. And leading that effort is Amy Gutman. She heads the Presidential Commission for the Study of Bioethical Issues, and she is also the president of the University of Pennsylvania. Dr. Gutman, thanks for being with us. This is not a single incident. We've actually had many of these things happen. What is the purpose of your commission? Are we worried that these types of things are still happening today?
Allie, we can't know whether these things are happening today unless we have a fact-finding mission, and that's what President Obama has asked the Presidential Commission on Bioethics to do, to actually meet with experts and ask them, what is it today that would prevent these things from happening again? They've happened too many times in our history, and we want to make sure, and the President wants to make sure, that we can assure the American public that if they are part of a scientific experiment or a medical experiment, they will be treated with respect and fairly. So we don't know right now how the United States is relative to the rest of the world, and that's why the President has asked me to convene an international task force of experts. And those experts are going to sit down with me, and we're going to actually discuss how different countries and the United States fare in this regard. And we should come up with a report by year's end that can inform the public as well as the President of where we stand.
Okay, we know you're having more hearings in May. We'll follow so long.
Okay, so we know that the war crimes exist against Americans. We were promised a task force by President Barack Obama. President Barack Obama is no longer here anymore. Okay, he's gone. All right, he's long gone. He neglected to protect the American people. He knew of me. I sent him a letter. I sent him a complaint. I sent him and Eric Holder, the U.S. Attorney General, asking him to investigate my complaint, and they kicked the can down the road. But there are other institutions, private institutions, who have been spying on me too, and we're going to look at that evidence right now.
With you, very curious to see
Here we
what
go.
happens. Dr. Amy Gutman is the chair of the presidential.
They sold my soul to institutions to spy and track me down. The FBI was aware of this.
University of Pennsylvania.
The FBI is aware of this.
What I'd like to do is just very quickly go around and have the commission members just introduce themselves, and then I'm going to open it up to a few questions. Barbara, would you be in? Put your mic on.
Thanks. Barbara Atkinson from the University of Kansas Medical Center.
Nelson Michael from the Wall Street Army Institute of Research.
Christine Grady from the Department of Bioethics at the Clinical Center at NIH.
John Harris from a place you might know something about, University of Virginia.
Lonnie Ali.
Jim Reiner from Emory.
Raju Kushalapati, Harvard Medical School.
Nita Farahani from Vanderbilt University.
Steve Hauser, UC San Francisco.
Anita Allen, University of Pennsylvania.
Alex Garza, Department of Homeland Security.
And Dan Solomisi, University of Chicago.
Certainly the problem with incidental findings, though, is an enormous, obvious overlap with the genetic situation. MRI scans often give things you didn't expect, and often they're things you don't know what to do with. UBOs, as they're called, unidentified bright objects. Do you want to have one of those in your brain? Well, you might, and what are you going to do with that? Very difficult to say. And then getting again into forensics, lie detection, certainly there are those who believe this will become a more accurate means of assessing when somebody is practicing deception, and then other available methods. Personality prediction or profiling, again, something that might be used in making decisions about who gets access to which particular kinds of jobs or in the military, or also could be used in courts of law. Neuromarketing, a little scary, used in making decisions.
So this commission that belonged to President Barack Obama had been spying on me for almost 30 years now. They've been spying on me, collecting data, and it's getting better because they're using the AI to intercept my thoughts. They're recording that to try to put a puzzle together. But my puzzle's full of colors. Yellow, green, brown, purple, pink, orange. It's full of colors. And you've told me that already. By exposing it on TV, by exposing it on person. You've exposed that to me, that you're infiltrating my mind and my thoughts. And I use the same code, the same colors as the Zinner cards. Okay? And there was a prediction of Joseph Bank Rhines. Joseph Bank Rhines was a parapsychologist from Duke University. He was also a veteran of the U.S. Marines. And what Joseph Bank Rhines predicted was that you can read someone's mind through E.S.P. Okay? He predicted that you will be able to read someone's mind. Okay? Joseph Bank Rhines is this gentleman right here. Joseph Bank Rhines predicted that at one day you'll be able to read someone's mind, that you'll be able to see their thoughts and picture their thoughts to perception. Okay? And so on top of that, he also used a set of cards. A set of cards to help people understand that he was able to read their cards, that able to read their minds using the Zinner cards. Okay? And you can see him here. You can see him here clearly. You can see him clearly using the Zinner cards. He's using the Zinner cards, using the Zinner card, which is this here. The colors of the Zinner card. Let me get that for you here. There's his Zinner cards. Notice the colors. Yellow, red, blue, green. Yellow, red, blue, black, and green. He used those colors, didn't he, to help people understand that they can read their minds. As the same thing I'm doing to you, to the federal government. Using color codes. Throwing back artifacts that I recollecting to put back in my mind. Kind of like what he predicted. Okay, do you see what I mean? So I know you're on my mind, and I know that you're legally in violation of my constitutional rights. Using brain imaging, satellites and drones, extrasensory perception, AI, to hunt me down, to spy on me for the last 30 years of my life, in violation of my Fourth Amendment rights, in violation of the fruit of the poisonous tree theory. You've entrapped my life. You've exposed my life to society and to the government for 30 years now. I have ESP, extrasensory perception. I'm not delusional schizophrenic. But I've become that now because I've been trying to pound this in the heads of senators and congressmen who represent me. And I even went to the U.S. Supreme Court, didn't I? I went to the U.S. Supreme Court with my lawsuit. And what did they do? Kick the can down the fucking road. Like they've done for the last 60 years of this war. This war has been around for 60 years. They're spying, tracking, and torturing Americans with satellites, drones, and electronic warfare. The criminal has access to this war chest. But the government has exposed me. They cast my life out to society for me to be intercepted by criminals who are accessing the war chest. I'm an easy target. I'm an easy, cheap target to attack. And you want to make the whole entire society like me? I mean, how is that going to work? How secure is ESP? You ask an FBI agent if he wants to be implanted and stalked on and hunted down by someone. You ask the CIA agent if he wants to be spied on, microchip spied on by some other criminal. You ask the DOD if they want their agents to be spied on, tracked and tortured by other criminals. You ask the Secret Service if they want to be spied on, tracked and tortured by other criminals. And if you can honestly say, no, I don't want to be in your program and I want out of it, when will you set me free? Let's talk about ESP. What is it like being to have an ESP? Well, extrasensory perception. I mean, like I said, it's dangerous. It's dangerous. In many ways, it's dangerous. Okay? When I get up in the morning, before I go to bed, every morning, before I go to bed every morning, I get my alarm system. I get my alarm system out, right? And I'm being watched by a satellite, a drone, and an AI. I get my alarm out, and I come to the alarm. I come to the alarm pad of my alarm and I type in 5356 and I hit enter. That's being recorded by the AI. That's being observed. I am broadcasting that to society and to the government. Those numbers, that code to get into my security alarm is being broadcast to society, to the government, and to criminals. How is AI, how is microchipping someone going to be safe? If you're broadcasting the numbers, if you're broadcasting the numbers to your security code to society, how do you think that's going to be safe? On microchipping the next generation of people, of creating a smart soldier. How is that going to be safe when the enemy knows you're coming? When the satellites are watching and attacking Americans? How is that safe to hide your identity? I mean, I'd like to have an answer to this. You know, oh, how about your passcode? How about you take out your ATM card and start plugging the numbers into the bank teller machine? My passcode is going to be 6983. That's my passcode. And you're broadcasting that to society and to the government. While society, the government, and foreign enemies are watching you. How is that safe? How is E.S.P going to be safe? How is it going to be safe in the battlefields? How is it going to be safe as an undercover agent? How is it going to be safe to the police officer that's writing traffic tickets on the state highway? How is he going to write traffic tickets if he's broadcasting his thoughts to society and to the government? How does he write a traffic ticket? Explain to me how safe E.S.P is, or broadcasting your life to society and to the government. How safe is that? How about you single men out there looking for women? Huh? You want to know? You want to tell the women where you're at or where you're going? How about the women that are dating single men? You want to tell the men where you're at? Expose your privacy of life, your sexual life while you're nude in bed, taking off your clothes. You want the enemy to see where you're at every day by broadcasting your thoughts on when you come home, when you lay down, or when you take a shower? Because you're doing that. And that's what the government is trying to sell you. The government is trying to sell you the microchipping and spying devices. They're trying to sell you that. So the next generation can be microchipped. I'm going to make a quote here from you, from Dr. Robert Duncan, who was a CIA whistleblower. The guy is a hero. Anybody that blows a whistle on federal corruption are heroes. And their tombstone should be hero. Okay? Your tombstone should say hero. Hero. Dr. Robert Duncan is that hero. Okay? He's been working for the CIA for a long time. The Moscow Signal, 1960, 1970. You mean to tell me that the CIA doesn't have archives on it? That the FBI doesn't have archives on it? And you can't pull out a cold case and investigate that? Dr. Robert Duncan was that hero. Was that man. Because he had the courage. He had the heart to blow the whistle against the most notorious spying agency in the world, the CIA. Not only that, the CIA is corrupt. It's corrupt because they're using people who are not being vetted to spy and track and hunt down Americans. And that's got to stop. That's got to stop. Those informants got to be well documented. And the way I would take care of that is if I use an informant, I want to petition that informant. I'm going to use you as an informant, but I want you to come document that. I want you to come document that in the courts. You're going to come and sit in front of a Senate committee and state your information when I let you roam the United States in foreign lands. That's not, we're not doing that. We're allowing the criminals to come into the United States undocumented to kill and hunt down Americans, to do the dirty job of the CIA and Secret Service and FBI. Every damn informant should be documented. Should be in front of a select committee to be tracked and spied on and make sure that they're accounted for. That's got to change. We don't need informants. Why do we need informants if we have satellite weapons and drones? It's a waste of money. It's corruption. So, like I said, I want to thank Dr. Robert Duncan for giving me the knowledge, giving me his courage, and I want to appreciate him today. That's Dr. Robert Duncan. Now, I came to know Dr. Robert Duncan because of a former veteran, Derek Robinson. Derek Robinson referred me to Dr. Duncan, and he said, Dr. Duncan is a whistleblower. You may want to talk to him. So I was fortunate to get on Facebook one day, and I made up an undercover identification label. I labeled it Joseph Bank Rhines. I labeled it Joseph. My handle that day was called Joseph Bank Rhines. I use his handle. I don't know if Dr. Duncan picked up on that, but my name was Joseph Bank Rhines. I don't know if he picked it up, but he released what he released is devastating, and it's all making sense. Okay, so I got on Facebook and I created a background to hide my identity, to get some data from Dr. Robert Duncan. So he was able to unleash it out, and what I got was this. It's Dr. Robert Duncan. Okay. This is Dr. Robert Duncan right here. He says, I like the FBI, and the former chief of LA FBI was a grandfather figure to me. He could not be corrupt either. He warned the lame Senate Intelligence Committee over a decade ago, but they ignored ignorance and money to turn a blind eye to help steal their souls. There he goes. Dr. Robert Duncan. The question I asked him was this. I said, this is a question I asked Dr. Robert Duncan. I said, Dr. Duncan, I said, what do you think about stopping satellite weapons and torturing Americans? And he said, the weapon systems will never be taken offline. It is a psychotronic Cold War race to collect mind samples. If it is taken offline, it will be because the population have decided to accept chips in their bodies for more direct control. That's from Dr. Robert Duncan right there. Okay. And I asked him, I said, Dr. Duncan, if you were brought in to assist local police, the police department, in combating electronic harassment, could you do it? And he said, LOL, laugh out loud. No, the local police have average IQs by trade. They could not afford the equipment nor understand the physics involved. Here you go. Okay? So he was able to give me information. And that information is vital. That information tells me that the United States federal government and its intelligence agencies are corrupt. That it's an inside job for 60 years to spy on Americans and hunt them down for their thoughts and ideas. And that all they've done is complain to the Senate and complain to the hierarchy of our government, and all they've done is neglect to protect the American people. And all they've done is paid whistleblowers like Dr. Robert Duncan millions of dollars to keep this thing quiet. To keep it quiet. This is a 60-year silent war that's been hidden hidden from the American people for 60 years. And I'm going to use this quote from Henry Kissinger. The Moscow Signal. Verbatim, I'm going to read it. It says, the Moscow Signal declassified microwave diplomacy from 1967 to 1977. It says, declassified records detail diplomatic efforts to end microwave radiation directed at Moscow embassy. It says here, Kissinger to Dobrynin. It says, we are trying to keep the thing quiet. You could give me radiation treatment. This is from Henry Kissinger. Okay, so like I said, you know, I'm just not happy at all because I used to think that some of these elite agencies were elite, that the FBI was elite, the CIA was elite, and that it would be hard from someone in the military to get into those agencies. But it's not. You're hiring corrupt people off the streets. You're hiring criminals off the streets to infiltrate other people without due process, without being documented. And that's got to change. Because that's government money. That's taxpayers' information. We want to know what informant you're using. Who is the informant? Where is he from? Is he documented? Has he testified in front of the Senate? It's got to be documented, guys. That is bad fucking business. Pardon my French. Let's go back to E.S.P. E.S.P is not good. It's not good for anyone. I don't care what you think. And technology will not advance. It will not advance because it's breaching our constitutional rights. It's non-consensual experimentation. And I have to go back to President Bill Clinton. By the way, I served in the armed forces during the President Bill Clinton administration. By the way. He knew what was going on. Bill Clinton knew what was going on. I served in 93 in the military during the Clinton administration. Okay. What pisses me off is that he knew that I was being experimented on and he neglected to stop it anyway. Okay. He neglected it. He knew he did. But Bill Clinton was aware of this. He was aware of the experimentation done to me. He knew that. And I have to refer back to his speech, right? That's Bill Clinton. But I'm pissed off at that, and I'm pissed off about the process on which you're spying on Americans. You have to get a warrant. I'm sorry, get a warrant. Okay, get a warrant to spy on Americans. You don't have that warrant for 60 years. You don't have that warrant for 30 years against me. That's what I'm pissed off about. You know, and you use my family member to spy on me. Come on, you put their lives in jeopardy to spy on me. They have no business in my life or dealing with the military. I was over the age of 18 to sign my own goddamn contracts. You negotiate a contract with me. That's bullshit, man. Why you put their lives in jeopardy? That's bullshit. So Bill Clinton was aware of human radiation experimentation. He was aware of experimentation against Americans point blank. He knew about that. He was a lawyer. He's been watching this too with Joe Biden. They've been doing this for a long time. It's an inside job of racketeering and Ponzi scheme that's grown every fourth mile. And it will. And it will. Unless you put your foot to it and stop it all. And I don't care if you work for the FBI or CIA. You're all being targeted. And they're complaining about that too. But the problem is that they're attacking children and kids. Bill Clinton is aware of this. He was very aware of this. And he was aware of it, how the government was spying on me. There's no doubt about that. Bill Clinton's human radiation experimentation. There it is. Let's rewind that a little bit.
Yeah.
I think it's 19, what was it, 19... What was it? There it is. Okay, we're going to speed it up a little bit because there was promises made and the promises were not made fulfilled. They weren't stopped.
From the public. Wrongs were indeed harm you and the family members who are here. Dr. Faden.
This is Dr. Faden for President Bill Clinton.
Mr. President, Secretary O'Leary, Attorney General Reno, Secretary Shalala, other members of the Human Radiation Interagency Working Group, on behalf of my 13 colleagues on the Advisory Committee, I am proud to submit our final report. We worked extremely hard over the last 18 months in order to inform you and the American people about what really happened to radiation research subjects in the Cold War period. With the assistance of federal agencies, private research centers and hospitals, and numerous citizens, we have assembled and reviewed hundreds of thousands of documents, many of which were previously secret. In 31 days of open hearings conducted in Washington and throughout the country, we have heard from hundreds of public witnesses. We have found that wrongs were indeed committed, both with experiments involving radiation and with intentional releases of radiation into the environment. In the pursuit of peace and the advancement of medicine, certainly two laudable goals, the rights and interests of individuals and communities were sometimes ignored. We found that government officials and physicians who had the trust of the public and of their patients abused that trust. Patients were used as subjects of experiments without their knowledge or consent. Information was withheld from affected communities and from the public. Secrets were kept to protect the government from embarrassment and legal liability. While the radiation doses in the experiments we studied were usually low, and officials and scientists were often concerned about risk, we do not believe that excuses the wrongs that were done. We urge you to do the right thing by those who have been wronged or harmed by these events. In our report, we recommend for your consideration guidelines for compensating former subjects. But if we are to keep faith with those who have suffered, we must all do more. Your extraordinary efforts have allowed the American people to learn about a piece of our history that we could not otherwise have understood. You have opened the doors of this nation's records, and they must stay open. You have recognized the price of secrecy in research for what it is, a legacy of cynicism and a legacy of distrust. If we are to keep faith with those who have suffered, we must do everything possible to guarantee that what happened to them never happens again. The committee learned that research safeguards have come a long way since the Second World War. Americans can and should feel much more secure about medical research today, but the system remains imperfect. I urge you to carefully review the committee's findings and recommendations. Both the government and research institutions must do all they can to protect our fellow citizens. If this committee's work is to mean anything, it has to be that 50 years from now, there does not have to be another presidential committee charged with investigating allegations of abuses of human subjects. There should never be another such advisory.
There should never be another such advisory. Clinton knew, President Clinton knew of me. He knew that the government was on to me. They knew they were experimenting on me, reading my mind, broadcasting my thoughts. He knew that, as a president. But like I said, where's the laws? Here we are 30 years later and still in violation of my constitutional rights, and you're a lawyer and you don't preserve that, you don't protect that? That's negligence with malice, because people are dying. They've been dying for 60 years on a war with our government against the American people. Okay? Back to E.S.P. When I went to the VA, I said, look, I've been chipped and they're reading my thoughts and broadcasting my thoughts. They're attacking me with satellite weapons and drones and microwave energy weapons. When I exposed that to them, oh no, man, you're schizophrenic delusional. You're not broadcasting it. We're not stealing your thoughts or broadcasting your thoughts. Come on, man. There's a thing called res ipsa loquitur. Let the thing speak for itself. I am broadcasting my thoughts. I'm broadcasting my mind to be intercepted by a computer network interface called AI and society and the government and American. You entrap my life. I am broadcasting my life and everything I do. It's ESP. And I would like to be reinstated. I would like to be reinstated by the Department of Veterans Affairs. I want them to clear up their mistake that they've been spying on me for 30 years without federal court order, without affirmation, okay? There's some kind of immunity out there that I have, and I would like that to come forward because they give me immunity, and I want that identification. I want it to be identified in a court of law, okay? And I want the people to be compensated for the damages done by the government to my family, to friends, and everyone else who they choose to spy on. Thank you, and God bless America.